Glad to have you. This is the Retirement Education Hour. Hi, everyone. Megan Mozak in the studio today, back with financial instructors Kirk Cassidy, Dr. Paul Mettler, and we're glad that you're aboard. We talk about retirement planning here on the show each and every week, and we share valuable insights, information that you need so that you can retire successfully. That does not happen by chance. It does take careful education, and boy, is there a lot to learn these days. And we help you do that. We help you really get that information that you need to make great decisions about your future. And today's no different. We're going to be doing that today on a big topic. How do you turn off the noise? Tune it out. It's inundating. It's from everywhere. All these channels, whether it's your phone or your streaming devices, cable news. Who do you listen to? And what do you need to be tuning out? Which voices should you be listening to intently? We're going to break that down. Kirk and Paul have some terrific tips on that, so be listening for that. And I want to direct you to the website. We work, of course, with the Retirement Education Foundation. Their mission is to educate you around retirement planning. Go to the website now. We'll be sharing details around how you can attend the foundation's courses. These are like master's level courses on retirement planning held at major colleges and universities right near you. Go to retirementplanning.edu.org. Kirk and Paul, I'm really excited for this one. It feels like you're giving us kind of a sneak peek or a peek behind the curtain on what's really going on with the financial services industry. You say not all this advice is equal, right?
It's not, and I loved your introduction, Megan, about the show. It's really about the noise, or sometimes I think younger people call it clickbait. You can't help but look, if you have searched anything about financial advice or retirement, you are getting hit with articles from major publications or financial advisors left and right. And often, and we see this trend, right? We are, remember, we're a national charity. Our mission is to educate people so that they can retire earlier, spend more money in retirement, have less fear and anxiety, pay less taxes. We've taught over 10,000 people. And so we're always on the search for the advice and the messaging that other people in the financial service industry is promoting. And so one of the most common themes we're seeing today is where major publications are asking consumers that are about to retire to send questions in so the experts can respond to that. So, Paul, would you read a recent question, we can't say the publication, that an expert was responding, what that response looked like?
Yeah, so this was supposedly a retirement expert who basically tells his clients when they are considering to retire to consider 6 questions. Why retire now? Who will you be spending time with in retirement? What activities will you pursue? Where will you live? How soon do you want to stop working? And perhaps most importantly, how will you pay for retirement? And basically, he tells his clients, if you can't answer these 6 questions, you're probably not ready for retirement.
So, Paul, this is a theme. Okay, so we read those questions. The questions are less important. The answers are pretty consistent, and even the large, the Susie Orman, the Dave Ramseys, the mega voices in the financial service industry, especially around retirement, they're all trying to convince people to work longer, to be more afraid of inflation in retirement, that they're going to run out of money. There's a concentrated effort from the financial service industry for you to spend less in retirement. Remember, the less you spend, the more they make. The less of your money you spend, the more of your money they're managing for you. And oh, by the way, the less work they have to do. So they are all talking these buzzwords about sequence of returns risk, tax planning, Roth conversions, all the things that we've been teaching in our charity for over a decade, trying to help people find the right advisory teams to hire. They're all talking about it now. And so our goal today and our goal in our 8-hour classes is to help you prepare to find the right teams to help you through this important phase of your life. So if you'd like to learn more, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
Kirk, I know we're going to spend some time diving into this more. But to me, you said the 6 questions, they're not as important as sort of you look at it as a whole. But the one thing that when I read this, the one thing that really stood out for me were two things. One was what they weren't asking to help people figure out how to retire, right? I mean, the questions they were asking, they're cool, they're fluffy. But if you're going to retire, it seems like there's some huge questions that you should be asking that person to help them figure out how to retire. And none of the questions really got to it. It just didn't make sense. I mean, it's like, really, these are the 6 things that you need to know to help someone figure out how to retire? Really?
I think, Paul. No, I hear you, because I think so as one of the games we play now is we're sending these questions that are being sent into these publications and the responses back and forth to each other. Paul and I are doing that, and Michael as well, and some of the other instructors. We're sending them back and forth, sort of giggling at the responses. And one of the themes that I'm consistently hearing is no definitive answers, no definitive strategies, no conclusion on what's going to drive success in retirement. They're all sort of general, like broad brushstrokes of one size fits all, so that you're not as confident about like really pulling the trigger and retiring. They're not making you feel good about the idea of retirement because there's so much uncertainty. They're not creating a clear picture to take away the anxiety. They understand. You all may not understand this yet. Especially those people that haven't retired or maybe a little ways from retirement. You don't understand the amount of anxiety associated with retirement, deciding I can afford to do it, deciding how much money I can spend, deciding what accounts we take the money from, deciding what teams, should I do it myself because I've been doing it myself? By the way, you shouldn't. How do I find the right teams? What are the questions? Like, they're not giving you any real good information to make you feel warm and fuzzy about retirement. And it's intentional. It's intentional. The longer you work, the more they make. The less you spend, the more they make. The less work they have to do to map out a 25, 30-year retirement so that you can have the greatest amount of income. That's less work. That's more time they get to sell people something. So please attend one of our 8 hours, like master's level courses. We're teaching them at major universities and colleges in your area. In addition, if we aren't in your area, we're streaming the classes live from the universities. If you'd like to attend, all you have to do is make a $29 donation to charity. Please register at retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org. Thanks for listening to the Retirement Education Hour. Be sure to follow or subscribe when listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And now, back to the show.
Talking today about tuning out the noise, making sure you're listening to the right voices when it comes to getting your financial advisory information and education when it comes to retirement planning. And tuning out that noise is so important. We've been taking a look at this article in MarketWatch where there's a financial industry expert trying to give advice to people. And I'll just be frank. Kirk and Paul, you're kind of tearing it apart because there's a lot of glaring problems here. One of the questions, just the question in and of itself that he poses to pre-retirees, he says, you have to be able to answer the following before you retire. How will I pay for my retirement? What do you think about the premise of that very question, Kirk and Paul?
So, I mean, again, the theme of today is about, and it's similar to if any of you listen to the last podcast or the last radio shows that we had, it's how do you choose an advisor? Really, right? The charity's goal here is to help you have the knowledge and information to be able to go find the right teams to help you. What is really important and what are the answers you really need to find and what does a real retirement look like? And if an advisor is literally on a national publication saying this is a question that you need to be able to answer yourself before you can retire, then what is the purpose of the advisor at all? How will you pay for retirement? Well, I don't know. Isn't that what I'm hiring you to do, Paul? I mean, like literally, you're asking your customer to tell you how you want to pay for retirement? This shouldn't be a collaboration, Paul. The advisor is the advisor. They're the doctor. They're supposed to tell you how you're going to do it, what you can afford to do it, when you can do it, definitively map it out.
Yeah, I'm so glad you used doctor in that. I mean, could you imagine for a moment going to get surgery and asking the surgeon, hey, can you tell me how I'm supposed to get through this surgery? How am I going to do this surgery? It makes no sense that one of his 6 questions is asking the client, how are you going to figure out paying for this retirement? That is the job of the advisor. It makes no sense. But it does make sense a little bit, Kirk, because as you've said many, many times, there's a lot of conflicts of interest. There's a lot of disincentives for our people in the financial advisory industry to help the clients not retire, right? Keep working, don't retire, we make more money. So there's a disincentive, I think, in many ways to get clients, to get people to retire.
Yeah. What is a financial advisor's motivation? Or unfortunately, many of you are just meeting with insurance salespeople pretending to be financial advisors. But setting that aside, tell me what the incentive for them is to get you to retire. If they're managing your money and the more money of yours they manage, the more they make, what is their incentive? How are they not conflicted to begin with? So, please understand, we're not suggesting all financial advisors are bad. That's not the point. But you all, what I'm telling you, and I will tell, I challenge people to come to our classes and challenge me live in the class. I'm telling you, you are not well informed enough to be able to find the right teams to help you. You aren't asking the right questions. You don't know what it should look like, a real retirement plan. You do not. Your e-money probability of success is not a retirement income plan. That doesn't tell you where you're taking your money from. It tells you the likelihood whether you'll outlive your money or not. Taking 4% a year out, if that's what you want, you'll just keep working because just think about it. If you have $2 million saved and you're going to follow the 4% rule, and that's the default in our industry, because it's simple, it's cookie cutter, one size fits all. It doesn't fail very often. It's the default that everyone uses. They can sell more instead of plan more for people. They can just keep meeting people and selling them instead of building plans. $2 million is going to produce $80,000 a year. Now, in the class, we're going to show you the real number you can have if you're 60, 65 years old is closer to 140 to 180,000 with your $2 million. It's 6, 7, 8, 9% withdrawal rates if you find the right teams. And that's what, so the goal, the purpose of the class, Paul, right, is to give people the ability to filter, filter out the BS and to know exactly what they should be looking for in the team so that they can have more income, pay less taxes, less anxiety as they age and they get scared. It's really frustrating, Paul, that the question is, where are you going to get your income? Do you have enough income? That's their job. I don't get it, Paul.
Yeah, I don't either. And one of the things that, as you're talking, I'm thinking the most disturbing of all of this is this was in a very well-known, publication that people read. A lot of people read to get good advice. And if I was reading that article and I was hearing this advisor say these are the things you have to consider, you know how many people because of that are probably not going to retire just because of this one publication? And
Paul, that was a CFP too. They're CFP. Here's the other piece of that. Many times, not always, but in many cases, advisory firms are paying to get placed, to respond to. They're paying to get to be able to respond to these questions. It's a pay-to-play game in our where many of you guys are getting your resources and your questions answered, and where you're depending on to make decisions around your retirement. It's pay to play. It's marketing. Our business, the financial service industry, is a marketing business. And that's the purpose of a charity teaching an 8-hour master's level course to show you what you should be looking for in finding the right teams, in filtering out all the marketing BS. So register for one of our 8-hour courses. They're taught over 2 evenings or 1 full Saturday at most of the major universities in your area, or you can stream it live. If you'd like to register, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org. Listening from outside Michigan or Missouri? We stream courses live from the university so you can attend anywhere in the country. Go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org to sign up. And now back to the show.
Did you know you could be in danger of clickbaiting yourself to retirement? What do I mean? You could be listening to the wrong advice to plan your retirement. Everywhere you look, people say they're experts. So, Kirk and Paul, the question to you, how do we make sure we're not listening to clickbait when we're planning our retirement?
Well, I can tell you the first thing I would do. So we listen to locally a lot of radio, financial experts on the radio. We watch locally on TV, especially on weekend, the paid programs, a lot of so-called experts on retirement on TV. And the game I like to play now is I'm listening to people really sort of echoing the things that we have been talking about for years and teaching with our charity, through our charity to the public. Like they're trying to stay a step ahead of the education we are providing our communities, literally. So we come on the radio, we educate you on really how to drive the most successful retirement possible, how to spend more, retire sooner, pay less taxes, and have more freedom in retirement by educating you on how to find the right teams to help you. I mean, we've been doing this for decades, and it's like we're constantly trying to evolve because they take the information we share, and now everyone says they do it. Now everyone's talking about sequence of returns risk. Now everyone's talking about maximizing income. Everyone's talking about tax planning. Everyone's talking about Roth conversions. Everyone's talking about charitable planning. It's like they talk about it, but no one actually implements the strategy. So the problem for the consumer, Paul, the problem is they hear things and they think they've got the right people. And so the game I play when I'm listening to the radio shows and the TV shows, the first thing I do is I go to sec.gov or finra.org. I do broker checks and advisor checks. And I look at their disclosures. I look at how many complaints have been filed against them. I look at how many people have filed for bankruptcy. Here's a stunning statistic, everyone listening. If you think you can do this without this almost master's level course that the charity teaches, if you think you are smart enough to find the right teams to help you, know that almost 40% of financial advisors will file bankruptcy at some point in their careers. Almost 40% of the people in our business will have a complaint or file for bankruptcy in their careers. This is an industry full of salespeople. That's what it is. And they go hire firms and they go to conferences on how to sell you something. They come up with catchy buzz phrases for their little systems. They've got systems, roadmap for retirement, the tent of this, the compass of that. It's just BS, folks. Go to the charity's website. We'll walk you through what a real retirement plan looks like and what it should encompass. There's a reason the course is 8 hours and why you have to make a small $29 donation to charity to attend. It's $29 we ask you to make a donation to charity so we can support other charities as well. There's a reason it's 8 hours. It's complicated. We want you to understand the levers that are going to drive a successful retirement, to know if the teams that you're talking to, the people out there that you're talking to, do they actually implement these strategies? You don't even know what they look like. You are way underspending. You're working longer than you need to, and you're paying more taxes because you're letting them, because you're falling for clickbait and articles and experts. Paul, I'm sorry. I got on a little tantrum there. It's really frustrating. They are really good, and they're like staying a step ahead of the charity in our education. They really are, just by pretending to do the things that we talk about.
You know, I think fair advice would always be, and I think we would hold this to ourselves as well. Nobody should make retirement decisions based on a radio show. No yes. Radio show. Right? I don't care. Including this, right? Including ours. Nobody should make decisions based on a radio show. That's not education. We're not doing this, folks, to educate you today. We don't do this radio show to replace an 8-hour course. We're doing this to get you to the course. This does not replace education. And I would say that's true for any radio show out there.
Paul, yeah, I love that. I mean, you sort of nailed it. I mean, full disclosure, anyone that's been listening to our radio shows and podcasts, yes, we give a lot of information, a lot of educational content. We give you but we have an 8-minute segments. We have do the math. We have 6 8-minute segments. And our goal by giving you the information we're giving you is just to get you to an 8-hour, like a master's level course. Go look at the Google reviews, and I sort of cringe saying this, but go look at the Google reviews of the charity and go look at the comments about people who are attending these courses. It will change your life. It will change your retirement. It's like we are begging you to get yourself educated so you can go out and find the right people to help you and have the retirement you've earned. It is sad that our industry is intentionally not giving you customized, individualized retirement plans with certainty so that you will spend more and retire quicker. It's a shame, and 8 hours will help you be prepared to know if the team you're working with or looking to work with can provide those actual planning services. So we just ask for a $29 donation to charity. If you'd like to attend one of these 8-hour courses that are held at major universities and colleges in your area, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org.
Classes are forming now. Go to retirementplanningedu.org to register. Again, that's retirementplanningedu.org. Use the promo code PODCAST to receive 50% off your tuition. And now, back to the show.
Kirk and Paul, as we've been talking today about this noise that's out there, everyone claiming to be an expert on retirement planning, and you're telling us and we're realizing it's really not the case, you've got to be so discerning who you're listening to. You know, MarketWatch in this report that we've been dissecting, they asked 6 questions, right? If you're ready for retirement, 6 questions, and you've blown the doors off of that. But I have to challenge you now. What would the Retirement Education Foundation be asking? What questions would you have for someone who wants to retire?
Well, so it's funny because I just want to make sure everyone understands that our goal of the radio show and the podcasts and the webinars and the white papers and the 8 hours, almost master level courses taught at universities, that the charity, the educational charity, the Retirement Education Foundation, is promoting, teaching, benefiting the public, our communities with, is based upon helping you avoid mistakes, to help you find the right people to help you. One of the things you won't like hearing when you come to the class is that there is zero chance the $1 to $20 million families should be doing this themselves. As they age and cognitively decline and become more vulnerable and more fearful. Old people aren't cheap. They're scared. You will get scared as you age and no one else is sending you a paycheck. So you're not going to like some of the things we're going to tell you. And we're going to challenge. For example, you're never going to, when you're done with this class, you will never, ever, 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 ever own an actively managed mutual fund again. So the first question that we're going to take you through is, what is your targeted income in retirement? Now, that sounds simple. I know everyone says, sort of goes through a budgeting analysis with you in the financial service industry. Every advisor probably would ask you the same question. But we're going to challenge you because our bet, now remember, we've taught over 10,000 people. We have taught over 10,000 people. And the average person attending these courses have 4.5 years of post-high school education. They have $1 to $20 million of investable assets. These are engineers, CPAs, CEOs, sometimes CFOs, often CPAs and CFAs that are even in the financial service industry. So we will challenge you that you probably have your budgets wrong. Your spreadsheets are off. It's really not hard. The first question is, how much money do you need, not want? The second question is want, but how much are you spending going into retirement? I don't care you're only going to need 78% of your income in retirement. If you have $1 to $20 million, that does not apply to you. 66% of you will spend more money in retirement than you did the last 5 years you were working. So I don't care about what you think you need. What I want to know is, what are you spending right now? In your spreadsheets, you CPAs even have this wrong. It's just a top-down analysis. Paul, will you please walk people through with a very basic but highly powerful exercise that we teach people right in the beginning of the class? This is the first question you have to answer is, how much are you spending? Because I bet it's more than you think.
Yeah, if I could say one thing before I do that. Out of all the questions we ask in this class for people to think about, I would say this is the one that gets answered wrong more often than any other question.
Yes.
And it seems like it's the easiest, but I would say it's most often answered incorrectly. And it's because, again, all the noise. What most people do is they sit down and say, okay, what's my utilities? What am I paying in my mortgage? And they add up all their bills and say, okay, this is how much I'm spending. This is how much we want. And the problem is they often miss those one-time expenses every couple months. So what we say is, go back if you want to retire next year, this year, or you want to retire this year, go back to last year and add up all of the sources of income. All of the sources of income, work income, rental income, any source of income, add it all up. Take that number. Did you save any of that? Did you give any of that away? Let's make it simple. Let's say out of all sources, you brought in $150,000 and you saved $20,000 in your checking and savings. You spent $130,000. I don't care if your bottom-up budget says you only spent $90,000. If you brought in $150,000 and you saved $30,000 in your checking and savings, we are assuming you spent $120,000, and that should at least be the starting point of your target income in retirement.
So, Paul, next segment, I will actually take them through a scenario where we're going to look at gross income, how much you put in your 401k, saved in your 401ks, how much went to taxes. We'll dive a little deeper in this because I want to make sure, what we tell people in the class is, I don't care what your spreadsheet tells you. I want to know what you spent last year. And we're going to figure that out, and you'll be able to figure that out. And if you think you can live on less, before you retire, spend a year trying to live on less. You can't. You won't. We know you won't. I mean, what do you think you're going to do? Tell me what you're going to do with the 2,000 hours that you spend working right now once you retire. What are you going to do with all that time? Are you going to sit home? Many of you, unfortunately, watch CNBC and read all these silly finance articles, but most of you will go travel. You'll go out to eat. You'll have activities. You'll have hobbies. How are you going to spend less in retirement? In our next segment, we'll explain where this misinformation around budgeting comes from. But please, register for one of our 8-hour classes. It will change your retirement, I promise. Make a $29 donation to charity. Register at retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org. To find our latest white papers and webinars, go to retirementplanningedu.org. That's retirementplanningedu.org. And remember to subscribe or follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. And now back to the show.
As we've been talking about tuning out the noise, listening to the right experts, the right advice when it comes to retirement planning, one of the areas you identified where there's a lot of misinformation is how to understand what your actual income need is in retirement. Kirk and Paul, how do you go about doing that?
So we shared some information in the last segment. I want to recap and just spend a couple of more minutes because I think there's a lot of misconceptions around this and bad advice being shared in the public. Again, remember the theme that we're always talking about. The less you spend, the more your advisors and the financial service industry makes. So they are incentivized to tell you you're going to need less money in retirement. I need you to understand the study that is often quoted and where many of you believe you're only going to need about 75 to 80% of your income comes from a study where they had almost 40%, we'll call it a third of the participants in the study only had Social Security. That's all they had. That's all the money they had to spend was Social Security. That skewed everything down. The data tells us, especially for you guys, that you people that have over, or your families with over $1 million, you're going to spend more money in the first 5 to 10 years of retirement than you spent the last 5 years of your work. It's not even close. It's not. We've taught over 10,000 people. We've tracked the data. I've got the data. I'm telling you that is wrong. And you're going to want to spend. The question shouldn't even be how much do you need, but how much do you want? And the other problem is, Paul, and I want to go walk through this, is that most people don't know what they're spending. Their spreadsheets are wrong. You CPAs often get this wrong. You engineers. We meet CFO for Fortune 500 companies that come through our classes that have their budgets wrong. So it's really simple. I'm going to ask all of you to go through this exercise. It's the first thing we do in the class is to make sure you understand how to do a top-down budget analysis. Let's say you have a household, a married couple with $300,000 of gross income from their employer, $300,000, and they are both contributing $25,000 each to their 401ks. So if they have a gross income of $300,000 and they're both saving $25,000 each, we are now down to $250,000. And now we look at our tax returns and we find that we pay a total of $60,000 total taxes. That's all taxes, everything, $60,000. So if I subtract $60,000 from the $250,000, I'm now down to $190,000. Now, some of you contribute to an HSA or some sort of health savings account. Just round it and deduct $10,000. Now we're down to $180,000 that is coming into your household. You have $180,000 coming into your house every year. That's what came in your house this past year, $180,000. Now tell me this year or this past year, how much did you put in checking and savings or in a brokerage account? How much did you invest or save? Is your savings account, did you add money or take money out of your checking and savings? Is it up or down for the year? So if it's even, you're spending $180,000, folks. I don't care what excuse you have. That's what you spent. I don't care that your spreadsheet says your budget and expenses are only $100,000. You spent $180,000. And I'm telling you, Paul said this last segment, the majority of people get this wrong. So if you don't believe us, what we tell people in the class is, please, before you retire, whatever you think your number is, whatever you think you want in retirement, or whatever you think your budget is that you're spending, try it for 1 year. Literally try to spend just that money for 1 year. Go back and do the top down the next year and see how much money you spent. And likely, you $1 to $20 million families, you're going to be spending more. So that's step one. Now, that is not the advice you're going to get from most financial advisors. Most advisors are going to say, what number do you need? And that's it. There, you're done. They might give you a budget sheet, which is useless because you miss so many things. You have one-time expenses. Paul, they miss it all. Paul, I've hogged this whole segment. I'm just going to keep going if you don't mind, and I'll let you jump in the next segment. But there's a couple other things, really important questions that I think you guys need to be asking yourselves. How much income can I have in retirement? Can anyone tell you that answer? If they tell you it's 4% or they give you spreadsheets that show 4% for retirement, A, you're going to have to take more than that in just required minimum distributions as you age. So that's a useless plan. B, you should and can have income distributions of 6, 7, 8, sometimes 9% in retirement if you find the right teams to help you. That's the purpose of our class, is to teach you what to look for in the teams to help you so that you can spend double what the most advisors will tell you that you can have. Now, next question. Do you know where you're taking your income from? Do you know what accounts it's going to come out of and when? Has it been mapped out? Is there a plan showing you that? I'm going to tell you probably don't. Do you have any idea what your taxes are going to be over the next 25 years? Doing projections, it's not hard to do. We do it. We teach you in the class how to do it. The answer is probably no. And if you don't have those things, you don't know when to take Social Security. The online calculators and the calculators your advisors are using for Social Security is a waste of time. It's a tax question. Social Security impacts taxes First of all, it is taxable. Second of all, it's taxable. It impacts your taxes on your required minimum distributions. It impacts your taxes on dividends and capital gains. You need to attend one of our 8-hour courses. I'm talking fast because I'm running out of time. Go to the charity's website, register, make a $29 donation to charity, or watch one of our webinars. Go to retirementplanningedu.org. Please go to retirementplanningedu.org. Thanks for listening to the Retirement Education Hour. Be sure to follow or subscribe when listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And now, back to the show.
You know, Kirk and Paul just talked about those courses. All of those universities are locations for these master's level-like courses. We're here on the radio each and every week. You have a podcast. You're everywhere. What's the mission here? Because clearly you're putting your heart and soul into this.
Well, I think we are. I mean, for over a decade, we've taught over 10,000 people. We have, 7,000 listeners on our podcast. We are everywhere. The charity is everywhere trying to provide this education to help people avoid mistakes, to find the right teams to help them, but really to know what to look for, right? I mean, I'm frustrated today. I'm guessing people can sense it. I don't feel like we've done a great job in today's radio show of trying to explain to you what our goal was. And the goal is really no different than any other day. And we just try to give it to you in different ways to convince you to go to the charity's website and consume the free information and education that is available to you. Because look, at the end of the day, the financial services industry is a cesspool of marketing sizzle. I am so disappointed in our industry. It makes me sad. I'm frustrated. Every day I listen to a radio show, TV show, experts here. I'm watching CNBC. I'm watching Bloomberg. And people have convinced themselves like they can stock pick, market time. So there's the people that really think they can do those things. And then there's the people that really know they can't do it, but it's just they find different ways to message and market and convince you that they're doing things they're really not doing. It's just it's a grift, honestly. And I know people in our industry really don't like what we are sharing in the public, but there are some people out there, Paul. There are some teams, some advisors, some groups out there that do it right. There's not a lot, but they are out there. So they're either out there or I believe our courses, especially you can consume the white papers and all that will help you, but the 8-hour course will give you the knowledge to be able to ask the right questions, but also look and see. We're going to show you what a real retirement plan looks like. What takes somebody 50 to 100 hours to design for someone. Like your plan should be custom and individualized to you. And if you've got $1 to $20 million, they should be spending 30, 50, maybe 100 hours building that plan for you. And I'm telling you, there are very few people in the country doing that. There are some, but not many. And we're going to show you what that looks like. We're going to show you how to challenge, how to corner your teams to see if they're doing it for you. And sometimes, I believe, we have helped provide the knowledge to the retirees and people approaching retirement to go back to their teams and force them to do better and to give them more and provide better outcomes for them so they can have the best retirement without fear. Retiring really, many of you already have what you need to give you the retirement you want. You should have already retired. No one's given you the certainty by showing you a really mapped out 25, 30-year plan like we show you in the class. That's what the purpose is, Paul. I mean, I don't know, Paul. I'm frustrated with today's show. I don't think we did a great job, but I hope this segment's helping.
Yeah, I mean, I feel similar. I think what makes it difficult is that, what we really want to do is try to educate on this radio show as we try to educate in our class and teach people what to look out for, what to filter. I mean, Megan says this all the time. How do you filter the noise? What should you pay attention to? And we did this all based on, we see every week these publications post questions that supposed experts are answering people out there, the public, regarding retirement planning. And when we read these, we're both sort of stunned at their answers. And we both of us are like, these answers aren't good enough. These aren't the right answers. And today we just wanted to get people to understand that when you read all these publications, just because they're national publications, just because you heard about them, doesn't make them credible. Just because someone says they're an expert, just because someone has a lot of letters behind their names, doesn't make them credible. And what we're trying to do is educate people on what to filter, what to look out for. But really, at the end of the day, we can only do so much on this show, right? There's only so much we can do in these, 8-minute segments. You can't replace coming to the class. So I think really at the end of the day, come to the class. And the class will teach you the best way to filter out the noise. You come to the class, I promise you, when you in the future read articles or when you listen to radio shows or you meet advisors, you will be so much better equipped to know how to filter what's good and what's bad. Who should you listen to? Who shouldn't you listen to? And that's the purpose of the course. That's really the purpose of this show, but it doesn't replace coming to the course.
Paul, we'll make a guarantee today. We will make, and we'll up the stakes a little bit. If you attend our 8-hour course and you don't feel like you are better prepared for retirement, meaning you're going to spend more, retire earlier, you're going to find the right teams to help you, pay less income taxes. If you don't feel like this course changes your retirement, we'll make a $2,000 donation to whatever charity you would like. We've made that guarantee for over a decade, and we've had to do it one time now. So I'm going to challenge all of you, come to the class and prove us wrong. And we'll happily make that donation to charity if you can prove us wrong. So if you'd like to attend, make a $29 donation to charity. Go to retirementplanningedu.org.
Retirement Education Foundation is a fiscally sponsored program of United Charitable, a registered 501c3 public charity. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any insurance discussed in this show is backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. Retirement Education Foundation is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Retirement Education Foundation. This radio show is paid for by the Retirement Education Foundation.